It's Thursday, right? And there's so much to achieve today. So let's kickstart this morning with a look at the dailies. And to do that with us, we're joined on the program by Mr. Sylvester Ebhodagie, who is a publisher, National Daily. It's great to have you on the program this morning.
Always a pleasure, and good morning to everyone.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning, Nigeria.
Well, what a day, what a week, I should say. Well, let's start off with the front page of, let me see, The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper is where we start off this morning, and this is what you find on the front page of The Guardian. Of course, it concerns insecurity. And there you go. Sack NSA Defense Minister. Reps charges Buhari. I say Reps charge Buhari. Anyway, the writers there. Reps threatens to shut down legislative business, declares Nigeria a failed state. 2,968 killed, 1,484 abducted in 3 months. Presidency replies Northern Elders, says reform on security sector coming soon. There's another angle from the federal government saying bandits Boko Haram have joined forces in unholy handshake. That's what the Minister of Information said. And the IGP also has a thing or two to add to this, saying our effort not good enough. McCarthy, Sheikh Husani, others seek timely release of train abductees. So it looks like these issues are rolling into each other. We're still grappling with that Kaduna-Abuja train attack. Then we've had attacks in Benue, in Plateau, and other parts of the country. As a citizen, let me ask you, as an editor, which of course you double as a citizen and an interested party, how do you soak in all of this? How do you cope? Let me start from there.
It is difficult to accept that in Nigeria of today, that particularly when we thought we were going to have the best, and I must be frontal, in the build-up to the 2015 elections, we can't divorce those realities from what we see today. The credentials of the president were read out to the extent that a retired general who had seen it all. I remember the national leader of the APC, that famous video of his statement at one of the rallies, went viral again recently, when he made mention of how nations who were in crisis called on their retired generals to lead those nations. And at the time that we were calling on the retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari to lead Nigeria, they were calling, not we, because not many of us agreed. 7 years down the line, and to see that we have gone from bad to worse, it's appalling. It's unacceptable. And then when you just oppose it with the several hundreds of billions of naira, trillions, I must say, that have been spent on security, and looking at what we have, we definitely we are not pleased. And to call for the sack of A and B, I do not know if the sack of these individuals is what we really need. I think something is still missing, and that is the political will on the part of the president and the leadership of the country to do the needful. Whether you like it or not, the buck stops at his table, and he has to take responsibility.
What is a needful in this case? What is a needful? I mean, that's the term I hear a lot. But what's the needful? Is it as though we don't know the needful? Or what exactly is a needful?
We have seen footages of these bandits, terrorists, having a fit day. We have seen people were kidnapped within minutes of the kidnap. Why were the victims not rescued? What happened to our area surveillance? What happened to the infrastructure, security architecture we had in place? Did it fail? Who didn't do what he or she was supposed to do? How many heads have rolled? And these are the questions we continue to ask. And if these things are not done, these are the needful. It took, whether it is correct or not, some information being made available, suspected places where the victims are being held are said to be about 128 kilometers from the scene of the abduction, as it were. And it would have taken at least a couple of hours, several hours, to walk that distance. And so while that was happening, what happened to our security? What happened? And contacts, I mean, Shehu Sani went on Twitter. The families of victims are being contacted. Ransoms are being negotiated. Yet we can't track these individuals. It is unacceptable, and we must call it what it is.
I remember that the families of the victims on Monday gave the federal government a 72-hour ultimatum, and that should have elapsed already, and we wait to see. Well, the government has been speaking about that, and you see some insights from the Minister of Information saying it's now bandits partnering with Boko Haram. I mean, some said we knew that already. I mean, the question now will be what is being done, but he said that things are being done. We're yet to see the fruition just yet. There's politics. Interestingly, politics is still on right now on the front page. Build up to the elections, INEC uncovers 1.3 million invalid registrations to prosecute culpable officials, as well as a couple of other stories. By the way, let me just mention NASU SANU threatened indefinite strike over non-implementation of agreement. So they had this 2-week warning strike. Now they're threatening. ASU is on strike. We know that already. SANU started warning strike. Now they're threatening an indefinite strike, and you wonder just how bad it can get. That's the Guardian newspaper.
I'll add also to the fact that NLC is also saying they're going to join forces.
Oh, goodness.
Anything better doesn't happen. The Leadership newspaper has this. By the way, on that, I wonder how you know, he asked a question around that of editors the other time. How do editors cope with all these? I mean, you'd have thought that reporting these issues would help to resolve the issues. At least that's the expectation. Put it in public domain so that action can be taken by those who are supposed to do it. So he asked the question of how do editors cope with this thing, having to cast almost the headlines, the same headlines almost on a daily basis.
It is frustrating, and you know, sometimes you can almost predict what the next headline would be, and across platforms. And that is why we continue to demand. Yes, a lot is being done, but you see, your best is not good enough until it produces the desired outcome. So many will tell us we're doing a lot, we're trying, but until it produces for us the desired outcome, which is the safety and security of lives and property of people in our society, you haven't done enough. Okay. And you continue to look for new solutions. You continue to engage and you know, work around the clock and make sure that we get the best as we speak. I mean, it's been said recently, the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God had to come out and speak. Everybody is talking. So, and it gets to us as editors. You're casting these headlines, 10 dead, 50 dead. Just a few days ago, I was just thinking, these are human beings. These are members of family. These are people's brothers, sisters, husbands, wives. I mean, families are, we are looking at numbers, but we are actually looking at pains, discomfort, tears, sorrow, blood in homes because of these things that have happened. And we can't gloss over them. We must continue to raise the issues, ask relevant questions, and I tell you, it's really frustrating when you see that these headlines are almost becoming, you know, the same story again and again.
Well, it will seem like the same probably was felt by the editor of the Guardian newspaper and the Leadership newspaper this morning. Look at the front page of the Leadership newspaper. 24 hours after Northern Elders' resignation call to PMB, FG vows to unveil perpetrators of Kaduna Plateau attacks. Stories on page 4. Says we are working to free abductees. Call for President's resignation, not solution to insecurity, according to Presidency. Reps lament protracted terrorist attacks. Ask President to implement Security Summit report. Insurers may cough out 119 million naira compensation for train attack victims. All of that is packed on the front page, and you see some graphics there of the recent killings that the FG also vowed to unveil. Quite a number there. And as our guest here said, they are not just numbers, they are people. Right under the nameplate, insurers discover 20 billion naira fraudulent claims from NSAR's destruction. One would have thought that, I mean, everything about this one should be okay. I mean, what do you make of this?
You know, people will always hide behind misfortunes to profit. The moment government began to call on people to come up with claims, on one hand, it was government's attempt to further demonize, criminalize, as it were, the actions of those who took to the streets, who probably took laws into their hands. But beyond that was a monster that was also being bred, as it were. And that is what you have seen in these fraudulent claims. These are the ones that have come to the open. There are many more, particularly in government circles, that you may never hear about. So people will always profit from things like this, and that also goes to show the extent to which corruption has eaten into the very fabrics of our society. We should not be. But thank God it's been exposed, and we do hope that those who have perpetrated this should not go free. Always, that is the landing spot for me. Okay. It doesn't matter what crime an individual attempts to commit, but the law must always be the law. Yes. If we ensure that these individuals pay dearly for their actions, that will serve as deterrent over time to others, because that is how you build a society.
Okay. Well, this one is, of course, as would it be expected. Politics is on the front page as well. Strip right above the major headline. 2023 PDP closes entry today. 17 presidential aspirants pick forms. Well, may I also add, at 40 million naira each. Well, this one, we talked about the education sector the other time. NLC gives 21 days. NLC gives FG 21 days to resolve crisis in education sector. That story is on page 6. Do you see any hopes in that?
For the first time, at least, we are seeing the NLC coming out to do what it's supposed to do, and we also expect people like the National Assembly, the lawmakers, to join everybody, because these kids being at home is not in anybody's interest. And we can't, how people go to bed every day, carry on with activities as though nothing is wrong when our young people are at home. It is unacceptable. So if the NRC can make real its threat, and I hope they are serious and they are not just trying to get attention of the government of the day. Sometimes these organized labor, they have disappointed at different times when they make such threats, and then when they are invited and then things happen and other things follow, and then they come out and, in the interest of what interest could be more than the interest of the future of the nation. And that is why today we are paying the price for the mistakes of yesterday. And then we are continuing with the same mistakes today. That means even in the near future, these problems are not going to go away, because the quality of education we give to our children determine how prepared they are for leadership responsibility.
Goodness. Well, let's turn our attention to Daily Trust. Well, Sokoto is still counting losses from that boat mishap. And you see how bright to be. 28 others die in Sokoto boat mishap. That's the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. Village head loses 5 children, niece, 2 in-laws. Accident second in 10 months. That's according to LG chair. Victims given mass burial. And some of the things the people talked about is having better boats, better safety measures put in place. They talked about better infrastructure. It's really sad, and I was really hoping to bring up at least some silver lining this morning. It seems we've been talking sad stories, but clearly we don't have that. There's also this one, which might interest you. APC presidential ticket. Buhari's body language unsettles Osinbajo, Tinubu, Amechi, others. You see, president in a tight corner, in quotes, who said that. Party set to release timetable for primaries. And, you know, we've heard about the president's body language. I mean, when he was coming into office, there was this talk about his body language and all that. But this is coming when he's about to leave office. And do you see anything about the president's body language in a build-up to the election, especially in terms of who is probably supporting?
Well, that is not yet clear, and I think he has left it deliberately so, because ideally he shouldn't be seen to be throwing his weight behind any candidate, because he has said he would allow a level playing field. He's a repentant, he's now a Democrat, and I think if it is indeed a democracy, the power indeed should be with the people, and the people should be given the opportunity. In this case, members of the party should be given the opportunity to decide who their flag bearer should be, and ultimately Nigerians should have the opportunity to pick who would be their president, and not one man sitting. And I think that is what has really negatively impacted our politics over time, where an individual arrogates to himself the powers of being an all-knowing that can see the future of the state and can decide this is the person. I think it should be a collective decision.
Let me put this tricky one to you. Do you think it's fair to talk about, you know, this politicking build up to 2023 when we have this insecurity challenge on our hands? There's been a lot of debate around it. Is it fair?
We cannot divorce the politics from the reality, because whether you like it or not, the elections would hold. The elections will not be postponed.
But there has to be security.
There has to be security, no doubt. So the onus is on the government of the day to ensure that there is a balance and that they give attention to issues that border on insecurity. And they shouldn't be seen to be politicking more than the attention they should give to security. And I think that is what is getting people's attention, particularly when the Minister of Transportation would have what many have described as the insensitivity, as it were. The enemy display an insensitivity, to go under the guise of a Thanksgiving to declare his ambition to run as president. With all that we have seen in the last 2 weeks, I think that is most insensitive. And
pretty much nobody should declare at this rate.
I think they should have respected the dead. They should have been more sensitive to the feeling, of citizens who are right now. They can't sleep with 2 eyes closed, not even with 1 eye closed now.
With the election timetable still counting? I don't know. Well, let's leave that for now. I'm looking for a paper that's not talking about insecurity. Okay, the New Telegraph this morning leads with something completely different.
Shocking, I must say.
And scary. Airlines begin ticket sale in dollars April 19. Blame $283 million trapped funds in forex scarcity. Airfares on international routes skyrocket. First of all, what do you make of this? Well, this is supposed to be Nigeria, right? In country. So airlines begin ticket sale in dollars April 19, or is it only for those going out of the country?
Well, I don't have the facts of that development, but you need to appreciate the fact that what the airlines are facing right now is a threat to their survival. And if they do not come up with strategies, models that can guarantee their survival, they will go practically extinct. So I think the onus again is on those who are responsible for managing the economy to sit down with these. Now we are not talking about jet fuel. We're talking about the general operations of the aviation industry. I think the CBN needs to get involved. They need to sit down with the airline operators and address these issues frontally and ensure that whatever constraints, because ultimately it falls back to citizens. And I dare say that when these pressures begin to mount, there could be something that many are not prepared for right now. And I think we should not be insensitive. We shouldn't just leave the airline operators to decide what they want to do. The government must take the bull by the horn and make sure these matters are addressed.
Quick one on the front page of the New Telegraph. Primaries with notification from only 10 parties that subscribe to INEC and Sanu Nasu to begin indefinite strike. Well, politics is still in the air. That's the New Telegraph newspaper this morning.
We'll take a look at Vanguard with this one. Outrage as Sultan Khan MBF reps lament killings and a host of riders. It just tries to put that in perspective. This one, NLC gives FG 21 days to resolve issues with varsity unions. We mentioned that earlier. So if NLC goes on strike, then what more can we say? Insecurity, 31 killed in Southeast in 72 hours. That's on page 11, and there's a breakdown of that one. So it means just not just the Northwest, or is it the Northeast? You have it in the Southeast as well. We definitely need a holistic solution to this one. And there's an update on the death of gospel singer Ebhodagie. Nwachukwu denies responsibility for wife's death. Mother says husband made life unbearable for her. That's a developing story, very sad one. On page 7, there's sports on the back page. Raw eyes another Eagles job.
Which one?
I mean, it's not bad, right? Give him another chance, especially now a lot of people are thinking, oh, maybe we should have allowed him stay, right? Because he's gotten us qualification for the World Cup before. Just maybe we were too hasty. So it'll be fair, right, to give him another chance, if indeed he's looking for one.
I think Nigeria should look beyond Raw.
We should move on.
We should move
from the
on
relationship.
and really think about the future of our football. Just to think that the same Nigeria that shook the world of football, the build-up to USA, I mean, from Tunisia '94 up to 94 World Cup, 96 Olympics, 98 World Cup. We made extraordinary showings here, but after that we began to experience a decline, and we haven't recovered ever since. I think we need to, I mean, the managers of our football need to sit down and look fundamentally at the issues that we must deal with.
Of course, there's that story, I must say. Oil firms spill 1,545 barrels of crude oil in Q1 22. We need a whole day to discuss that. But I guess that's all we have to anchor today on our papers review. But we'll have to thank you so much, Mr. Sylvester Ebhodagie, a publisher at National Daily. Thank you so much for your time and for your insights this morning.
Always a pleasure. And thank you for having me.
Thank you very much. Well, we'll go on a break now, and when we return, this is the appetizer, okay? So grab your cup of coffee, juice, whatever it is that makes you tick, and let's get into the issues for the day. We're starting off with security. Stay with us.